TFL EV is brought to you by Flow Charger, maker of reliable, high-quality charging stations for your electric vehicle.
Today on TFL EV, we are doing a deep dive on the brand new second generation Kia Niro EV. And to do that, we have an expert on the product here. This is Mark Savino with Kia. What is your title at Kia?
I'm the product strategy manager of the all-new Niro.
Nice. So you have to know the ins and outs of pretty much everything going on with these new cars, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is perfect because we're going to dive into really everything that's going on with this, because it's always exciting when we get a brand new EV, and the EV6 is pretty high up on our list of EVs, so seeing another new EV from Kia is a really great thing to see.
That's great. That's great, yeah.
So what are really some of the highlights for you as somebody that's coming from the manufacturer side on this car? What are some of the things that you would point out to say these are the best competitive advantages that we have going on with this car versus some of the competition?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the first things that we talk about is how we have 3 flavors of Niro, right? We always have, and we still do. So you have the EV here, we have the hybrid over here, we also have a plug-in hybrid. So that's one thing that actually at this point in the market, we're the only ones that offer that still. So that's, you know, that's number one for Niro versus EV6, which is fantastic, dedicated EV, right? EV only. So we like to say, you know, no matter what your comfort level is with electrification, we have a Niro for you. Yeah. We have hybrid, plug-in hybrid, EV. A lot of our customers, you know, hybrid is great for them. You know, they might not be able to plug it in as easily. They might live in an apartment, and they're rewarded with the best-in-class MPG of all crossover utility vehicles, 53 miles per gallon combined. So that's pretty sweet. And a lot of them do say, they say, you know what, we really want to get the EV eventually when we have a place to plug it in. And, so this one is 253 mile all-electric range on the EV. So that's an improvement for the outgoing car too.
As far as driving the Niro EV goes, it's pretty much, I would say, what you'd expect. Overall, the car is quiet. The ride is nice and compliant. It's comfortable, plenty of tech. I do like having the optional heads-up display here, and because I can see what the speed limit is, I can see how fast I'm going. All useful stuff to have. It's not exactly a sports car. I mean, 201 horsepower, it's not shabby, so it's not slow. It's not lightning fast to accelerate in, but it's plenty fast enough to get around. So I have a couple different modes that I can have the car in: Eco, Normal, and Sport, but I've mostly been driving around in Sport so we can take full advantage of the acceleration, which is really not bad. Yeah, you're not going to win a whole lot of drag races in it, but it's more than enough to get you up to speed as quickly as you need to. And even though I've been driving around in sport mode, I've been averaging about 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour, which is really not bad efficiency at all. Makes sense. It's a small aerodynamic car, so you're generally going to be pretty energy efficient. Our average in our F-150 Lightning was more like 2.8, 2.9, so smaller vehicle is going to be more efficient. And this is just an easy EV to live with. If you've never had an EV before, this would not be a bad car at all to transition into it, because other than the fact that it doesn't make any kind of growling noise from in front of the dash, it just feels like a normal car to drive. I think that is really cool that there's basically different levels of electrification that you can pick, and even like we were saying, the base powertrain starting at $26,490 is this hybrid that gets that good 53 miles per gallon. So no matter which one of these Niros you pick, you're going to have at least a slightly electrified car, and then you can bump all the way up to the full-on EV. And as you go up, you get more power. So the base car, this hybrid, 139 horsepower.
That's right.
Then you can bump up to the plug-in version of the car, which gets you that bigger 62 kilowatt electric motor, 180
horsepower. The plug-in is 11.1 kilowatt hour battery with 180 horsepower. You're right.
Yeah, and then you can go all the way up to the full EV. So you get a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery.
You got it. That's right.
201 horsepower. So this is going to be the most premium version of the Niro aero that you can get if
That's
you're
right.
ready for that full jump into electric.
Into EV.
And so something that I think is interesting in contrast to a car like the EV6, what is it that you guys have to do on the engineering end to make it so that this car and this platform can handle having that 1.6 liter gas 4-cylinder under the hood, or it can be all battery underneath? How much compromise is there in having to make a car that can house both versus the EV6 that's dedicated all electric?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. So with EV6, dedicated, full all-in EV, which is great. This one is interesting because it's a different platform. It's an all-new platform for the Kia brand. It's called K3.
Right.
Third generation, and it's really for our smaller cars, right? You'll probably see it coming up for some of our other vehicles, and it can handle both ICE and electrified.
Right.
So we're in that point in the market where some people, as we said, totally fine with the EV, jump right in, but not everybody for a variety of reasons, right? So that's the great thing about the platform is you have the flexibility to be able to offer multiple types of powertrains. And the great thing also is that we designed it from the ground up already like that. So there's not a lot of compromises at all when it's all sort of coherently designed.
Right, when it's made from step one to be able to do both.
Exactly. So like an example is the interior space. It does vary a little bit from model to model.
Right.
But it's very, very similar. So there's you don't lose a lot of cargo space, for example, because you have more batteries.
And then so here under the hood I see
there you go.
You've got a similar compartment
to
kind of what you've got in the EV6, although this is bigger than what you get in the under the hood of the EV6, right?
In the EV6, on the rear drive model, it's a little bit larger.
Okay.
Because there's not as many components. But if you talk about all-wheel drive,
the all-wheel drive, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
I remember the all-wheel drive front compartment being about big enough for me to put
for
my
your phone only.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can put a couple things. You can put a laptop.
Right. Yeah. So you get a little bit of storage up front.
That's right.
So
that's right.
You can see a couple of your general maintenance items, washer fluid, that kind of thing. And then if we pop open the hood on this hybrid model, obviously it looks very different because we have a full-on combustion engine under here, as well as some of the cables and everything that you need as this being a hybrid system. So,
right. And the hybrid system, is I like to point out, it's 1.6, 4-cylinder just like before, 139 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque just like before, but there's been a lot of upgrades and reworkings of the engine that sometimes I see other reviews and because it's just carryover, but it's not. And that's why we're able to get up to 53 miles per gallon. The outgoing car was 49.50 depending on the version. So we were able to get those extra MPG from a lot of updates and upgrades to make it a little bit freer flowing, smoother engine as well.
And I know similarly a few improvements to the plug-in hybrid model, which we don't have sitting right here in front of us. There is one in the backdrop over there in blue.
That blue guy right there with the lights
but that
on,
plug-in hybrid, it's got up to 33 miles of all-electric range, which is also an improvement over the previous model.
That's right. That's a 25% improvement, actually.
Yeah, so nice to have a little bit of extra range. Is that mostly because of battery size or aerodynamics?
Bigger battery, yeah. We went from an 8.9 to an 11.1 kilowatt hour battery pack. So it's and I love it in this case where you have more battery, more range, and more power. You have more of all, right?
Yeah, and then something else. So in terms of charging on the all EV model, it's up to 85 kilowatts.
85 kilowatt
at its maximum.
DC fast charge. That translates into a 10 to 80% in 43 minutes.
And it's obviously, 85 kilowatts of charging is not, compared to especially what the EV6 can do, it's not a ton of power going in, but with a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery, it's also not a massive battery. So
right. That's why it's a pretty decent amount of time. pretty much in line with a lot of our competitors. EV6, of course, 18 minutes for that, which is lightning fast, with the right charger.
It can be hard to find a charger that's actually willing to put out that much juice.
Exactly. So so the thing is that that 43 minutes is great for your road trips. Stop, grab some food, whatever. The other option obviously is if you do have access to a home charger. It's just about 6 hours or so. So overnight, boom,
and then
you got 253 miles all over again.
On the plug-in, it's under 3 hours.
That's right.
On level 2, right?
That's right, exactly. Yeah. Very easy.
Yeah, so all doable numbers. Even on a level 2, the full electric, you get home if you've drained the car completely, plug it in overnight. Right. No big deal. Something else that I like that you guys have included on this model is the V2L, the vehicle to load system.
Right in there. That's right.
Yeah, so you can actually power things off of the car. So when you guys were creating that system, did you have a particular use case in mind that you were kind of building it around?
That's a good question. There's multiple use cases, So there's like the fun use case where you're going out camping maybe, and you want, power some tunes or blow up your air mattress and that kind of thing. Plug in your coffee maker. You could totally do something like that. Another option is, I don't love talking about something like this, but say you do have storm, power goes out.
Right.
You can plug in your fridge, so you can preserve some of your perishables, and that is like up to 3 days power for something like a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Keep some of the lights on or run air conditioning unit, something like that. So it could kind of, however you need to have an auxiliary power, this car can provide it.
Something that's very intuitive that Kia does on the EV6 as well, and that they do on this, which I love, is the adjustable regen. So with this paddle on the right, I can decrease the regen so that right now I'm foot off of the throttle and we're coasting. But if I pull this paddle on the left and pull it again and pull it again, I can make this car regen very aggressively to the point that it brings us down pretty much to a stop, or I can make it such that I let off and now we're coasting. So having that immediate adjustment over how aggressively you're regenning, making it that easy to change at a moment's notice. If you're maybe in a hilly part of the country where you want more of that slowing without you having to go towards a brake, having the ability to just adjust your regen however you want it at a moment's notice is really, really nice to have. So overall, I think that's the highlight feature of driving this car. Otherwise, it's just, it's very easy to drive, easy to live with. I know another option for these cars that's going to be especially relevant to people that live in the kind of climate where we're based in Colorado is going to be the package that gets you the heat pump as well as a battery warmer.
Yeah.
And there's a name for that package,
right?
The
Preserve. The Preserve package, So, it used to be called the cold weather package. And we thought that, cold weather makes sense, right?
Right.
Because you do lose, cold weather does affect battery range. And but I also think that it's, the real point is really preserving your range.
Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the reason for the rename. But as you said, it is for when the temperature dips a little bit lower, and it really does work by providing a battery warmer and then the heat pump.
Yeah.
Right? So your battery is always at ideal temperatures in that colder climates. Yeah.
Because I know there's been some events in the past where people saw electric cars that had died on the highway and flew cold weather storms, and that had been kind of a big point of contention for a lot of people with EVs, is saying, well, you're sitting there running the heat and it's just cranking through your battery.
Right.
Have you guys done any testing that can put some numbers to how much battery you'll potentially save by having that preserved package if you're in a cold environment versus if you don't have it?
Got it. Yeah, that's a good question for our R&D.
Okay.
So I bet they have. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but absolutely.
Yeah, because that would be really interesting testing to do, to see how much battery do you actually save by having that. And of course, that's going to depend on what kind of driving you're doing, how you have your climate set up and
Right.
how cold it actually is. But
Exactly,
that,
exactly.
for us, especially in Colorado, would be some really cool testing
That's
to get to
right.
do.
That's right.
And then something else that's that I love about these cars is some of the really unique things that are done on the interior. So let's pop open the doors and check out a little bit of what's going on in here. So there's a few highlight things that were pointed out in the press release for the car about the construction of this interior. A few things like the headliner.
Yes,
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about this. It uses recycled wallpaper.
absolutely.
Is that like wallpaper from people's houses?
From people's houses.
Interesting.
Yeah, in Korea, apparently.
Okay, so we've got Korean wallpaper.
Korean wallpaper up here. I thought I'd see like a little flower somewhere. In there.
Right. So that is really interesting. You wouldn't that's not what your mind would go to think of.
Right.
What kind of recycled material could you make a headliner out of?
Yeah,
But
and I was
super
also
unique.
reading last night that it's not just wallpaper. It's those PET bottles, those
Yeah.
plastic bottles. So some stuff like that, like packaging,
Right.
and other sort of things that would otherwise be recyclables or whatever
Yeah.
go into this. Yeah, yeah.
And then I know on these door panels here, it uses BTX-free paint, which is just a lower impact paint.
Yep.
So not as bad for the environment.
Exactly.
And then the seats, parts of the materials on the seats use eucalyptus leaves, which of course are the
Eucalyptus.
friendliest of the leaves.
That's right.
Yeah.
The koala bears might be, not so happy that we're taking
Right,
their
a
food
little
source,
bit of their
but-
food, yeah.
But yeah, it adds, and then these are it's all vegan.
Yeah.
The vegan leather. The entire interior of the car is vegan. And one other thing that I love talking with our interior designers, if you look at some of the patterns in the plastics,
Yeah.
there's nothing that is animal print or so. This is like a knit type print or a
Right.
a embossed print. So this is the first Kia actually that goes in that direction.
Right.
So that kind of is driving home the point that all vegan, all sustainable materials in the car.
And do you know, from a manufacturing side of things, does that do much to increase the price? Because some of these materials, at least, like I think the eucalyptus on the seats, that's specifically on higher trim models, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we have 3 seat options for the car. So the entry models are cloth.
Right.
The mid-grade is a mixture of the vegan and cloth. And the top trims, like the one we're in now, is the full vegan.
And is that pretty much all of basically the fabric material that we're sitting on right now? That's the eucalyptus part of it?
Yes, you're on
Okay.
100% the eucalyptus.
Yeah, which is interesting because it doesn't feel like a leaf. It feels like a pretty normal seat
Right.
material. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice and smooth, actually. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool. And then, of course, these are perforated because of the ventilated seats are on this trim as well.
Yeah, and then also part of the preserve package for cold weather also includes heated rear seats,
The
right?
rear heated.
And then
The heated steering wheel. Yeah.
Although some of the higher trims, so you've got Wind and you've got Wave. Wave
Yes.
is the higher trim.
Wave is the higher.
Okay, and
And
that
we're in
comes
Wave
with,
right now.
Right, and that already comes with the heated steering wheel.
Yeah, heated steering wheel is and heated and cooled seats are standard on the Wave.
Right.
And then the preserve package will add the heated rear seats
Yeah.
on that trim. And of course, the heat pump.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of tech that comes standard on these cars, especially safety tech. So you have everything like lane keep assist, you have automatic emergency braking, you have rear cross traffic collision avoidance,
Blind spot.
Yeah, blind spot monitoring, a lot that comes standard. And then there's a few things that you can add in addition when it comes to technology, like smart cruise control, stop and go.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So the smart cruise control, and some we have a junction turning warning. Those are on the mid-level and above.
Right.
And then when it comes to the EV, which we're in right now, the top trim, the Wave, has the most advanced one, that's the Highway Drive Assist 2 package.
Right.
And that's the one that has the automatic lane change.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the smart cruise control is set. You just click on your directional, whichever lane you're moving into, and then the car will automatically change lanes. Something from the EV6. So
Yeah.
currently in our lineup, the EV6 and now this new Niro are the 2 vehicles that have this state-of-the-art system. And it also has machine learning for the smart cruise control.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So you guys were saying that it actually kind of learns the way that you drive, and
Yeah.
it tries to mimic that, so that
Right.
when you set that system, it doesn't feel foreign.
Exactly.
Which is pretty funny. So maybe if
Exactly.
you're a little bit of a crazy driver, I'm sure the car
I'm
won't get too crazy,
yes.
but it'll try to mimic a little bit of the way that you drive.
However you feel, you know, if this is the way you do it, then, you know, the Kia
The car will
follow.
try to do that, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then a few other things that you can add, like 8-speaker Harman Kardon audio system, which this
Yes.
spec'd out model has. You can also
Yes.
add a heads-up display.
Yep, this car
Which
has
is
all
nice
of
to
that.
have.
I can turn it on so you can see.
Yeah, and we've got our dual 10.25-inch screens here.
Yep, exactly.
Which-
And that's standard on all EVs.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so some of the lower trims, like the more base model hybrids, won't come with that straight off the bat.
That's right.
But
That's
the
right.
EV being the top
EV,
dog
yes,
powertrain
exactly.
is going to come with it
That's
right off
right.
the bat.
That's right, exactly. So this system here, where you see in the displays all standard, and the head-up display is
Yeah.
on the top wave trim on this in the EV.
So something that I also recognize from the EV6 is this panel right here that controls the climate. Looks very similar. Is this even pretty much the same part?
Pretty
would you
much,
say?
yeah. And it's in other Kias as well.
Yeah, so it works essentially the same way, and once you get used to it, it's honestly not that hard to use, so you can switch in between some of your radio controls, and you
Yep.
still have a few of your climate controls here
Yeah.
along the side, but now
Exactly.
your volume is here, your tune knob is here, and then you can go to a bigger climate screen to
Exactly.
control more of those functions. And a few of my older coworkers, on the EV6 had to show them how this worked, because they were complaining there's no tune knob, and the only way you can change a volume is with this rocker switch on the wheel, and you just have to keep hitting it up and up and up if you want to up the volume. And I said, no. You can change volume. And they said, really? How? Show us.
Right.
You just got to
Boom,
click
right
that,
there.
change it, and it's
You have
right
a whole
there.
new menu, yeah.
So
Cool,
once
right?
once you get used to that, it's not too bad to use.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, I mean, you know, a lot of times at our company, we're a little old school. We like having some of those hard buttons. I don't think this kind of system is the end of the world. It does look really nice.
Yeah, it's really slick. It's a slick look, a slick design. We love how it's very thin, like very
Yeah.
slender, right? So it has that modern kind of look. So, you know, it does so much so well.
Yeah.
And then it is, you're right. Then you learn about the toggle. Did you learn that if you press and hold the
I
toggle,
haven't seen this.
then you could choose your default?
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
when you key cycle, it picks
No,
the default, or how
always.
is it default?
Now it's always.
Okay.
So right now there is no default.
Right.
But if you say for example you are you're always changing the volume of the radio.
Right.
But you wind up you think you're changing the temperature.
Yeah.
You can make it default to infotainment, so it's always going to go back to that no
Okay.
matter what. So you always have your volume. So you click on your climate, do whatever you need, but then it will time out and go back to,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Say you're always changing the temperature and you want to be able to,
So you can
always
just quickly
Yeah.
select away if you want to
Right.
adjust something like that, and then it'll go back to whatever it is that
Yeah.
you usually
So it's a
keep it
little
on.
bit helpful.
Nice.
So that you're not guessing or kind
Yeah.
of that kind of thing. And you can always, kind of prioritize the version that you use the most.
Yeah, it's cool to have the option for. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it is nice sometimes to have some more feedback from your button presses, but I do like the fact that there are some buttons that you use pretty frequently here, especially the heated and ventilated seat controls that are hard buttons, so you can just reach down and you know exactly what you're doing.
That's right. Yeah.
Ventilated seat was nice today, because it got hot earlier today.
Exactly. Yeah. I bet you guys use that in Colorado a lot, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, it
one
was
day you
nice.
want the heated, another day you want cooled.
Yeah.
You can always get
The
heated
heated
steering
wheel,
wheel
yeah.
if you like. Yeah.
And then walk me through this screen layout a little bit. So I'm sure there's some more here than just your standard radio controls and everything. And I'm terrible with tech, so you might be able to show me a few of the different cool modes that you can adjust on this car.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, so first of all, this screen is in a lot of our other vehicles, and we're pretty. We got a lot of positive comments about just generally. It's just kind of easy to use, very quick and
Yeah, it looks sharp.
responsive. It's like press the EV button, boom,
Right.
you're there, right? So that's pretty cool. You can see your MPG, or in this case, we're in the EV, so you can see your total range, and then obviously we have the navigation stuff.
Right.
One thing that I love here is, so this one here actually, This one is the different.
Oh, so you can change your
Yeah.
gauges.
Yeah.
Ah, that's pretty cool.
So there's that one, and actually that is also tied.
Ah, I like that one. The old
Yeah.
school digital.
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that before, right?
Yeah,
And
so
I also clicked on. See, that one is here is linked to drive mode.
right.
So if you change the drive mode switches on the steering wheel,
Yeah.
like a Ferrari.
Right,
And-
right. Just like.
And then you can do the same type of thing where, if you're in, say, like sport mode, the display has the
Yeah.
sport look. If you're eco mode, you get in the cool old school digital. And then there's also the normal mode. So you have 3 different versions. So you can either, link to drive mode, or you can go for the themes that you like.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I do also like the ambient light here that's in the dash. I bet, especially at night, it's going to be pretty cool to check
So that's
out.
another one that you can do a whole bunch of configuration as well.
Yeah, and then something else that I love in this car, and we'll get a little B-roll shot of it, is that you have vents for the backseat passengers. So the back
Yep.
seats in this car, they're not overly luxurious. I mean, this is a more economical car, and so the door cards back to the seats are more plasticky, but the fact that you do have vents back there when it comes to comfort, that is so nice to have.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a
right.
really nice inclusion.
And speaking of the backseat in general, there's more headroom than some of the vehicles in segment up.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the RAV4.
Yeah.
We have more headroom than the RAV4, which is hard to believe when you look at the outside of the car.
Yeah.
And it looks
Well,
pretty
I was-
small, manageable.
I was surprised by how much there was because, I mean, I'm only 5'10". I'm not a massive guy.
Right.
But this does look like a fairly small car. It's bigger than the previous generation, but
Yep.
even at 5'10", I've still got plenty of space above my very fluffy, poofy hair that needs to be cut. And I've got plenty of room in front of my knees.
Yeah.
I think even if I were Tommy, who's a couple inches taller than I am, I think I'd be fine in here.
Yeah, and this car has a sunroof, so this is like the worst case in terms
Right.
of headroom. Yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's really, I think, good packaging. It hits a lot of the marks that
Yeah.
you want out of a car that you're going to spend a lot of time in, use as your daily driver.
Yeah, that's the idea. So when I was planning the car, I was thinking about commuting,
Yeah.
and what would make your commute as comfortable and safe and just easy as possible. So that's
Yeah.
that's the way I configured it.
As we kind of wrap things up, I wanted to ask you if there's anything that we haven't really touched on with the car that you would say, hey, this is also something that's important to note about it, anything
Yeah.
we've glossed over.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we talked so much about the car's functionality, which is really the primary important thing about how good the car is, the essence of the car. But one thing that we haven't talked about is just its overall style,
Yeah.
right? And Niro, the outgoing car has been a very great conservatively styled car, and we kind of wanted to push the boundaries a little bit
Yeah.
with this new one, right? And how Kia is known for its great styling, and you could see here. Well, maybe turn on the headlights so you
Yeah,
can check
because
out
those
the
daytime running lights
Yeah, they're
are
really cool,
pretty
right?
unique. I was noticing this as we were driving earlier today. You could see the reflection of it. And then this also serves as your turn signal when you flip the turn signal on.
Or I can actually put that
Yeah,
on.
that daytime running light just changes from being white as it is now to, there you go,
Yeah.
which looks really sharp.
Yeah, it's really cool, and that's standard on all Niros. And yeah, you're looking at the up-level projector LED headlights.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing is that we have our signature Tiger Nose grille, but slightly reinterpreted, incorporating, in this case, the charging port on the EV, right? So that's kind of cool. And having the port in front, we hear from a lot of our customers, they love it.
Yeah.
Because when you're going to charge,
You just
you
pull
know,
straight
pull
in.
right on in. You don't have to worry about the side that you're parking in. You can see here we have the front parking sensors, all new for the car. And then if we kind of go down the side, you could see this cool gray cladding around the wheel arches and the lower door.
Yeah, and cladding is kind of a hot button word because there's a lot of cars on which cladding looks bad. But this, to me, it doesn't even remind me of typical cladding because it's the same kind of finish as the rest of your painted bodywork.
Right.
So it looks pretty sharp. I like having that much contrast along the side of the car just to mix up the colors a little bit.
Yeah.
And then especially so here
right over
on
here.
the D-pillar.
Yeah, exactly. This is the other thing that, it's hard to miss, right? You have the C-pillar, we call this the air blade.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it's functional.
This is a functional aerodynamic element. So is that just for efficiency going through the air for drag coefficient, or
efficiency, which translates into better fuel economy or range? It translates into stability, better stability at speed. So lots of positives to have this functional, kind of air curtain going down the side. Yeah, as you can see, the air exits next to the taillight.
So and I know aero is obviously huge on this car.
Yeah.
Drag coefficient of 0.29, which is pretty
right.
good.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder, when a car is being designed to be efficient and be aerodynamic, at what point do you have to start sacrificing aerodynamics for styling? Because, a lot of times the more aerodynamic a car gets, the more it looks like a hard-boiled egg.
Right.
And so at a certain point, if you want a car to look interesting and engaging, it can't be completely about aerodynamics. So is there...
Right.
Are there any particular elements here where you would say, we sacrificed a little bit on aerodynamics, but we wanted it to be styled a certain way, having a taller front end, anything like that?
Yeah, well, actually, the way I would say it is that, the outgoing car also had a 0.29 CD drag coefficient, but that car did have kind of that little smooth egg sort of look. And what we really wanted to do was, it is a crossover. It's not an SUV, it's a crossover that we wanted to kind of give a little bit more of a crossover feel, right?
Right.
So we have a little bit of a blunter nose. We have, the back does slope a little bit, but, cargo capacity is important, so it can't slope too much.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, to retain that 0.29, that's where something like that side blade comes into play, because it's now, giving you like that much more aerodynamics that can kind of make up for some of the more crossover design cues that we're looking for.
More upright.
That's right.
Elements of the car.
We have like active shutters in the grille in the front.
Right.
With that lower portion, smoother underbody. So lots of like refinements and details that are able to keep that slippery look or slippery drag coefficient and having the cool look that we're looking for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it. That's a deep dive into this new Kia Niro, especially the EV. Huge thanks to Mark for giving us his time and walking us through everything that's going on with it. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. A few things that we're looking forward to, like I mentioned, hopefully getting to test that preserve package in cold weather to see how much of a difference that makes.
How much it preserves.
Exactly. And then at some point, I really hope that I get to get my hands on a very base model hybrid with the 16-inch wheels to see, is the ride noticeably better, also testing out the efficiency. And I just think a car that is all about economy is kind of cool because it's pretty affordable. 588 miles of range on the base model hybrid.
On the 16-inch wheels.
On the 16-inch wheels, because you get those extra 4 mpg.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Pretty cool. So let us know what you guys think down in the comments below, and we'll catch you all in the next video.